I'm wrapping up the trilogy, technically four-ology, on the films in the M. Night Shyamalan collection. It's been a bit of an undertaking, but I've gotten to talk about movies I like. Not that I need an excuse to go on about these forever. If you haven't seen my videos on The Sixth Sense and Unbreakable,
why not?
But also you can check them out if you want, but let's get to it and talk about Signs. Signs released theatrically in 2002 and was a big success, financially and critically. Not as big as The Sixth Sense box office wise, but hey, what is? It's still Shyamalan's second biggest film right after The Sixth Sense.
Second comes right after first.
In short summary, Signs is the story of Graham Hess, a former priest and current farmer who left the church after his wife's tragic death. Him and his family notice huge symmetrical crop circles in their cornfield and soon have to grapple with an alien invasion while going through the aftermath of this personal tragedy. My goals, so to say, for this video are twofold. Like with the two videos before, I want to talk about some of the stuff I love about Signs. But the thing with Signs is, unlike The Sixth Sense and Unbreakable, it has gotten something of a backlash later on in its life. Partly probably because it was such a success, and that just always happens. And partly because the public opinion on Shyamalan has changed over the years. I still wouldn't call it hated or anything like that, and maybe this is more of an internet phenomenon, but I've seen people turn on it. Usually for disagreeable reasons. It's alright not to like the film. I don't have anything against people who don't like Signs. I just think it's a little weird, but you do you. I just think a lot of the criticism against it is very bad faith, and a lot of people seem to take misrepresentations and outright lies about the film on face value. But we'll get to that when we get to that. I don't want to start things off in a negative way, so I'll save that for later. Let's just get into the things that make Signs my all-time favorite movie.
Look at this lineup and tell us if any of these are the aliens you saw.
Yo! No, I'm sorry.
Before I get into all the nitty-gritty, I want to briefly talk about the first thing you'll notice when watching any movie, and what is in an audiovisual medium like this very important: the presentation. The film starts off with a title sequence, something that I find myself missing in movies these days. Really nothing kicks a movie off quite like a good title sequence, and while some movies work well without them, I would personally prefer for them to still be more in style. A more recent film that's very much like Signs, A Quiet Place, doesn't have one. It has a title card, but no sequence. It's a good film, but with a nice title sequence, it could be better. But the title sequence in Signs is amazing. It's simple, but very effective. It's the spotlight that comes in and out, and the very first thing you'll notice is the score. The score I already talked about in my M. Night Shyamalan collection video, being that it's the first thing I ever heard about the movie, but it's very effective, and even more so in the sequence itself. This goes for the rest of the movie too. The music and its use throughout is fantastic. Every track fits every moment perfectly, and when the movie needs to go silent, it does. There's this haunting feeling I get every time they zoom out in this aerial view of the crop circles in the beginning, paired with the track aptly titled The First Crop Circles. Just the music itself gives me chills, but paired with this visual of these otherworldly symbols, it's just something else. The movie, like any good Shyamalan movie, is very well shot. Shyamalan with cinematographer Tak Fujimoto has a very precise way of presenting everything. Like Unbreakable before it, every single image seems to be very well thought out. It's not necessarily as stylized as Unbreakable. There aren't as many long shots, or filming people through reflections, or anything like that. And the style is more naturalistic, which is the style for most blockbuster films. There are still Shyamalanisms that you'll notice, some extended long shots, people center framed looking straight in the direction of the camera and all that. It's toned down in those regards, but every frame is still clearly meticulously thought out, and it has plenty of iconic shots. There were so many that were just seared into my brain on the first watch as a child, especially those of the aliens. And I feel this works mostly because they're used very sparingly. You only see a couple of shots of them obscured in shadows or foliage, giving a masterful build-up to having a better look at one towards the end. Most of the build-up itself is done by sound, something I also mentioned in the Shyamalan collection video, but also something I will get more into later. But for now, the sound design is great, the visual style is just right, and the music is absolutely perfect.
Aliens, bioduplication, nude conspiracies. Oh my god, Lyndon LaRouche was right! What? Are you still here?
Signs is more in the direction of what Unbreakable was falsely marketed to be. A thriller with supernatural, or in this case, extraterrestrial elements. There is still a very human drama in the middle of it, which I will talk about at length, but the movie is a very viscerally effective thriller. It's touching and superbly crafted, but also makes for a very good popcorn blockbuster type of movie, if not way smaller than what we nowadays think a blockbuster is. Like how Unbreakable is a very Shyamalan take on Superman, Signs is a very Shyamalan take on, let's say, War of the Worlds. That's the movie they reference in the film itself. Like how with Inception, Christopher Nolan made a heist movie into this weird dream thing, Shyamalan made Independence Day, but a personal family drama. It's got all the aspects that elevate any good Shyamalan film into what they are, but it's super easy to get into, and a film I would recommend to almost anyone, except the extremely cynical and bad faith. And I think what makes it such a good time is its immediately interesting hook, the crop circles and alien presence, and its amazing build-up. Like Unbreakable, Signs is a mystery that's gradually being revealed to us, a perfect puzzle being built piece by piece, and by the end we get to see the beautiful picture come together. Every scene leaves you with some question that leads to the next. This is done with every aspect of the film, and the stacking of elements is just such a great and fun thing to watch. From the slow reveal of the aliens to all the interpersonal family dynamics. Not to mention the other central hook, which is the death of Graham's wife and the subsequent crisis of faith Graham deals with. And that's actually what I want to use as an example for this. Not only because I will talk more about the alien aspect later, but because some of the best stuff in the movie has to do with this aspect. I'm gonna get into spoilers now, so once more you are warned. This movie is literally my favorite film, so obviously I suggest you watch it first if you haven't. It's got great acting, great music, thrilling thrills, and aliens. What's not to like? So 3, 2, 1, here we go again. So for now I'm focusing solely on the death of Graham's wife, Colleen, and how they reveal that mystery throughout. In the first scene we see a family picture. Graham, Colleen, and their 2 children. Even Graham's priesthood is established. But Graham is sleeping alone in a bed meant for 2. We see a faded spot on the wall where a cross used to hang, alluding to the fact that Graham has lost his faith. This already points to the direction that whatever happened was dramatic enough for a priest to give up his religion. And priests love religion. They can't get enough of it. We also see that one of the family dogs, Houdini, has peed on the floor. Thinking that he may be sick, Graham says he'll take him to Dr. Crawford. But Morgan points out,
he doesn't treat animals.
He'll know what to do.
This is a very significant line, and one of my favorite parts of the film. I haven't even gotten there yet, but I am excited about where this goes. It's later on confirmed that Colleen died, as we reveal that Merrill, Graham's brother, moved in with Graham after her death. In this same scene, it's confirmed verbally that Graham left the church. Later in the movie, the family goes into town to get their mind off all the alien business. There they run into a man played by M. Night Shyamalan himself. The family stares at him. He's clearly somehow significant, but the younger children don't really seem to know why. Back home, Graham reveals to Merrill Colleen's last words. He says that there isn't much meaning behind the words. Their conversation in this scene is whether things happen for a reason or not, Graham thinking that they don't. Things are 50-50, but whatever happens, they are alone. The following scene is the film's first flashback/dream sequence to the night when Colleen died. It's revealed she was hit by a car, by a man named Ray, who fell asleep at the wheel. We don't see Ray or Colleen in this flashback. Next morning, Graham gets a call from Ray Reddy. Ray doesn't say anything on the phone, causing Graham to go over and investigate, leading to one of the best reveals, going back to the dog pee scene earlier. When Graham gets to Ray Reddy's house, we see his mailbox. A mailbox that says his name and his occupation, veterinarian. In the beginning of the film, Graham didn't want to take his dog to the vet, rather taking them to a doctor that doesn't even treat animals, because he doesn't want to see Ray Reddy, the man that killed his wife. Come on, even if you otherwise don't like the film, you gotta admit that's some tight shit. When the alien invasion starts going down, the family goes to take shelter in their basement. There, an alien grabs Morgan, and Morgan gets an asthma attack. They forgot to take his medicine with them, leading to Graham getting scared that he's going to lose another family member and getting mad at God. After this, we get our next flashback, again in the form of a dream, to the same night Colleen died. Here we see Graham receive the information that they are unable to save his wife, and the words he will speak to her will be their last ones to each other. We see Ray Reddy, and we see Colleen. We don't hear her final words yet. When Graham wakes up, we find out that the battle against the aliens had turned around overnight, and that the aliens fled fast, leaving some of their wounded behind. Confident that the aliens are gone,
Thank God the aliens are gone!
the family goes upstairs from the basement. Surprise, an alien was left behind and is now holding Morgan as hostage. At this confrontation, Graham seems to have an epiphany, and we get our final flashback, finally hearing Colleen's last words.
Tell Graham.
Come here.
see. Tell him to see. And tell Meryl to swing away.
While before Graham didn't see much meaning in her words, he now does. The family needs to overcome this alien as much as they need to overcome the trauma of Colleen's death. The alien sprays Morgan with poison when Meryl goes in to attack it. Meryl wouldn't be there to attack the alien and save Morgan if he hadn't moved in after Colleen's death. Graham manages to grab Morgan and finds out that because of the asthma attack, his lungs were closed and no poison got in. They all make it out alive, and we see at the end that Graham's faith has been restored. He's gone back to priesthood, and truly, everything happens for a reason.
It's like it was meant to be.
I'm gonna get more into the other aspects, things happening for a reason and whatnot, but I just wanted to highlight, with this one string of causalities, how the movie nicely ties one thing to the other and leads you through it. Of course, this is just one aspect. The aliens didn't even come much into play, but even they tie into everything. I mean, the crop circles are what starts the movie off. All of these elements come together in the movie one way or another. It's also another example of, again, how tight Shyamalan's movies are. I mentioned it with the previous two, I'm gonna mention it here. There isn't a single element that could be called a straggler in any way. The storytelling is very precise and everything fits in perfectly. And it's imperative in the case of Signs, a movie that is about things happening for a reason, even things that seem meaningless. Graham needs to see meaning in the tragedies that have befallen him, but also in the little, more everyday things. They aren't just meaningless random chance. I already mentioned the conversation Graham and Meryl have about this. They're both on different ends of the spectrum. Meryl believes the lights that they're seeing at night, the aliens, are a kind of miracle. This is happening for a reason. He backs this belief up with a funny anecdote about almost getting puked on during a makeout session, but avoiding this because he needed to take out the gum from his mouth. Graham, having lost his faith, doesn't believe this. He doesn't believe there's anyone up there watching over them. He references Colleen's last words, which didn't make sense to him at the time, saying they were a result of her nerve endings in her brain firing as she died, bringing up a random memory. None of this happens for a reason. They're on their own. Ray Reddy also says that him hitting Colleen was almost like it was meant to be. Had he fallen asleep at any other time, he would have woken up in a ditch with a headache, but it had to be at that exact second. This is also the real twist of the movie, if we are to say the movie has one. Colleen's last words aren't just random brain synapses. They really meant something. The titular signs aren't the crop circles the aliens are leaving, but all these signs in their life pointing to some higher power being at play. Everything was meant to be. Bo's habit of leaving half-full glasses of water everywhere, leading to plenty of water around to fight the alien with. Meryl having his baseball bat from his minor league baseball days, and him moving in with his brother after his wife's death. Morgan having asthma, and just earlier having a terrible asthma attack, leaving his lungs closed when the alien sprays him with poison. Even M. Night Shyamalan playing Ray Reddy, I feel is a kind of meta level to this. As a character, he just happened to kill Graham's wife. But as a writer, well...
It's like it was meant to be.
Now all of this leads me nicely into the two big aspects of the film. The family drama and the alien invasion stuff. I'm gonna start with the family drama.
Is it possible? There are no coincidences.
I bring you love.
It's bringing love. Don't let it get away.
Break its legs!
I compared Signs to Unbreakable before, and I'm gonna do it again. Another way the movies are alike is what makes this fantastical story feel grounded and emotionally resonant, the family drama taking place. The thing about Signs is, in Unbreakable, I could name my favorite character dynamic, as I could in The Sixth Sense, but I don't think I could do that with Signs. The brilliant thing is, the family in this movie is such a unit that it's hard to pick between them. The obvious one would be between Mel Gibson's Graham Hess and his brother, Joaquin Phoenix's Meryl Hess. And I love that dynamic. They get such fantastic character moments together, and their relationship builds so well throughout the movie. Then there's Graham and his son, Morgan, played by Rory Culkin, and their relationship is brilliant as well. And Graham's daughter, Bo, played by Abigail Breslin, is also great in this, and her relationship with Morgan is such a good one too. And I feel this works, because what the movie is really about is family. I mean, it's about many things, as all movies are. It's about faith, dealing with a traumatic event, trying to find meaning in a scary situation, but all of it comes down to the family unit. They have to get through this together. It's about an alien invasion, but more than that, it's about how this family's dealing with it. One of my favorite scenes, and one that really for the first time showcases this family unity being key, is the famous baby monitor scene. It's the scene right after the family had taken the trip to town, another great sequence. to get their minds off all the alien stuff that's on TV and literally in their backyard. This is them returning in the car. At this point, Graham and Merrill are skeptics about the aliens, but the children believe it. Morgan tells about the baby monitor he's gonna use as a walkie-talkie and how he believes it's receiving a signal from the aliens. Graham and Merrill dismiss it as just static.
It's just static, Morgan. Turn it up, see.
Graham takes the walkie-talkie and turns up the volume. As they get out of the car, the signal gets a little better, and Graham thinks it's picking up another baby monitor. Merrill tells him to hand him the monitor, and as they touch hands, this happens.
Stop!
I'm letting go now.
No, Dad! Don't do it!
You'll lose the signal.
Don't let go. It gets clearer the higher you hold it.
The signal becomes clear, and now Merrill is a believer. Him saying, "You lose the signal," and that music cue kicking in. It's one of the many parts that just gives me chills. It's perfect. Morgan climbs on the car to get higher and get a better signal. In universe, this works. He got higher, and the signal is clearer. But more than that, the signal clears only when they're all touching each other. When the family functions as one unit, only then can they get somewhere. This is repeated later on in the movie, in a scene that absolutely wrecks me every time. It's a scene of the family eating what they believe might be their last meal together before the alien invasion really kicks in. After a fight, they go to hug each other, and again, only as everyone is huddled as one does the baby monitor pick up the signal. This isn't exactly super subtle, but it is effective, and just so well done. And things like this make me believe in the family, on top of the fact that the movie is strictly told from their point of view. And of course all of this ties into the death of Graham's wife, Colleen, played by Patricia Kalember. It's the cause for Graham's crisis of faith, which alongside the death of Colleen, is what's putting so much strain on the family. Perhaps the clearest rift is between Graham and his son Morgan, who is still a true believer after all of this. They have the most confrontational of all the family dynamics in the movie. Even in the opening sequence, we contrast Graham's lost faith with the image of the faded cross, with Morgan's belief in him thinking it was God who made the crop circles. And throughout this alien invasion story, the focus is kept on the family. Not only that the whole thing is told from their perspective, but at each point the family dynamic and drama is in the forefront. I already mentioned the scene of their quote-unquote Last Supper before the alien invasion, which is a great scene and brings a lot of the conflicts to a head. When they're finishing up boarding up the windows and doors, as the aliens are getting closer, Graham is telling Morgan and Bo the stories of their birth that are also stories of their dead mother. In the basement, the alien attack leads to the asthma attack that later saves Morgan's life. Here the focus is not only on Graham's relationship to a higher power, but him trying to comfort Morgan into breathing in a way that would help his situation. We're also focusing on how the rest of the family, especially Merrill, sees Graham in this situation. He even says the next day,
"There's things I can take, and a couple things I can't. One of them I can't take is from my older brother, who's everything I want to be. Starts losing faith in things. I saw your eyes last night. I don't want to ever see your eyes like that again. Okay?"
Through pretty much every stage of the alien invasion, we're always reminded of the family in some way. The family drama and the alien invasion excitement go hand in hand. The aliens become almost a physical manifestation of the internal demons they have to battle, if it's not too pretentious to say that.
Bo, where's Morgan? Bo.
Are you in my dream too?
This is not a dream.
People of Earth, we come to you in the spirit of hostility and menace.
Now, let's be reasonable. We can resolve our differences peacefully. Ow!
The aliens and their presence get a reveal as good as any other reveal in the movie. The slow build up to the final confrontation is masterfully done, and frankly, iconic. As I said before, the opening scene shows the crop circles, with the dog circling one of them. The dogs are important, as the next sign, is animals acting weird around the area, as if in the presence of a predator. They're being aggressive and peeing themselves. Going back to that. After this feeling of presence, something not being right, a feeling of dread, never leaves. The movie does a lot to give you that feeling that there's something present at any time. This cornfield itself feels so ever present in the film, and it always feels to me like there's someone staring back at me from there when I'm looking at it. There's this scene of the cornfield where we hear the chirping of cicadas, until suddenly they stop. The next clear sign of something is the next night, when Bo comes into Graham's room and says,
"There's a monster outside my room. Can I have a glass of water?"
just a banger of a line, honestly. Later in the scene, we see the monster outside her window, and this was the stuff that hooked me the first time. This kind of creepy imagery. It's so dark out, it takes a second to even notice the alien on the roof. That, of course, at this point hasn't even been confirmed to be an alien. There's a lot of stuff like this in the movie, including maybe the creepiest and subtlest jump scare I can think of. Graham suspects the troublemakers are back at his cornfield, not believing in aliens at this point yet. He grabs a flashlight and goes in and yells at them, saying they're not gonna get famous. He goes to leave, but starts hearing strange clicking sounds. He gets startled and drops his flashlight. God damn, that's great stuff. Another creepy image that stayed forever with me after I first saw it, and I love the subtle music cue for the jump scare. It's just perfect. And the brilliant part is, we're always with the family. We never cut away from them in an Independence Day style manner, showing government agencies figuring out how to fight the aliens, or scientists in their lab coats coming up with some alien defeating weapon. We are always with the family, and we know only what the family knows, and we can only interpret upon that information. The feeling of isolation this brings heightens the tension. A big influence for Shyamalan for this was Night of the Living Dead. They achieved similar types of dread in a very similar setting through some shared and some different methods. Like in that movie, we also don't find much about the zombies, and we only know what the people in the house know. In Signs, a lot of the information is revealed through the television, something they also do in Night of the Living Dead. We first see the reports of the crop circles in different parts of the world through the television. We see the lights in the sky at night on the television. We also find out that the ships are still there during the day, but are just using some kind of cloaking mechanism, making any shot of the daytime sky just a tad creepier. And in a definite highlight of the film, and one of the most iconic images from the whole movie, we get the Brazilian birthday video. Merle, who at this point has gotten obsessed with the television, has brought the TV set into the closet to hide it from the kids. He has fallen asleep in front of it, but wakes up as the newscaster says,
"All initial opinions are this is genuine. What you're about to see may disturb you."
I am already glued to the edge of my seat. What are they going to show on this tape? The tape shows a birthday party in Brazil, in which the children are distracted and screaming about something. What happens next is one of the scariest film moments of my entire childhood. This terrified me, absolutely terrified me. This is our first real look at the alien, and on top of 3 shots of hands and a leg, it's all we see of the aliens until the big confrontation at the end. Even the scene of Graham going to inspect the pantry in which Ray Reddy had locked one of the aliens after a struggle, most of it is done by sound. We hear the alien walk around in there, and mostly all we see is the shadow moving back and forth under the door. And hell, even more than that, the final part of the aliens breaking into the house. After their meal, the baby monitor starts to pick up the signal again. This prompts the family to check the television. There are no broadcasts. When Graham says,
"It's happening,"
that's when everything gets real. To me, this is comparable to the feeling I get when in The Exorcist they finally go get Father Merrin. It's this, oh shit, this is it feeling. I love when movies manage to do that. They realize they forgot to bring in Isabel, their other dog. As the camera slowly zooms in on the wall, we hear the sounds of the dog barking at, then struggling and getting killed by an alien. We hear a wind chime ring as something hits it. Then with a slow pan around the room, we see shadows move past the boarded windows, and we hear the footsteps of the aliens. The aliens are now starting to break into the house. We hear them trying to break down the doors and boarded up windows. Merle realizes they forgot to block the attic door, and as they are running into the basement, we get our only real look at an alien during the whole break-in sequence. Another supreme sequence, and one that also shows the strength of playing things by sound, is the one in the basement. There's obviously the aliens at the other side of the door, but what I'm talking about is the one after the only time they show an alien in this scene. We see a camouflaged hand grab Morgan, after which Graham and Merrill drop the flashlights they were using, and we hear the struggle they're having, not seeing anything other than the aftermath of it. The last confrontation with the alien is something I already talked about, but it is really great. It brings all the elements we've been building towards together in a neat way. There is also another brilliant reveal in this scene. After the invasion is over, we hear the aliens have fled the Earth fast, leaving some wounded behind as a result. The family makes sure everything is clear, as far as they know, and goes back up from the basement to give Morgan's asthma medicine. Graham decides to bring the television to the living room, and then we're revealed one of the wounded left behind, the alien whose fingers Graham cut off earlier in the movie. This reveal is so good, and the presentation shines here too. It's 2002 CGI, but for the most part it looks pretty good. I'm sure a lot of it is the lighting, them showing it mostly in shadows and through television reflections. I love the design of the alien. It's not a very out there design, very humanoid, but it fits the movie nice. And the cloaking ability it has is super cool. I love these images getting imprinted on its skin. And as a side note, some of my favorite editing is in this scene. I love how these shots go together with the music and sound design. It's just viscerally so perfect, gets me pumped every time. If this shot of Merrill gripping the baseball bat isn't fucking rad to you, then I don't even care to know you, man. I know this sequence is probably the most controversial one in the movie, but no matter what the haters say, it rules. The music, the editing, the cinematography, everything is so goddamn good in this scene. Even the alien itself, I love it. The water being its weakness is not a negative, I say.
Should we turn off the lights? They already know we're here.
He's got a board with a nail in it!
And save humanity, will ya?
Run, Kodos!
This is the part of the video I'm kind of dreading. I don't want to dwell too much on it, but I feel like when it comes to talking about science, for a lot of people, the well has been very effectively poisoned. We've all heard about the pantry doors and the wood and the water and whatnot, but I honestly don't believe that they are problems, especially the wood thing. I know, it was a funny Nostalgia Critic joke. We all laughed at it back in 2012, but it's time we admit he was absolutely wrong about it. In his own words,
"You don't know any better. You don't."
He might have gotten one of his 3 good jokes out of that, but still. This is gonna be a more general answer to bad faith criticism, not a direct response or a hate video on the NC, as the kids used to call him. I'm just gonna say, if you start your video by saying you don't know any better to people who like a movie, you should damn well be precise when you point out the flaws of said movie. But I have seen these critiques in many places. This is something A Quiet Place faced too. The movies are very similar. There's something about movies like these that just attract nitpickers, and a lot of the times, lazy ones. How do they get power? Wouldn't a generator be noisy? And since the creatures are attracted to sound, that wouldn't work. Well, they do show you the solar panels here. That's a lot of sand. Where'd they get all of this sand? From this pile. And it's sand. How hard do you think sand is to get? Why didn't they move to the waterfall? I guess they have a lot of resources here, and moving is a large and not very quiet task. And I will reiterate, there are genuine problems to be had with the film, A Quiet Place or Signs. I don't have any with Signs, but if you do, then you do. If you don't like it, fine. I don't get it, but that's okay with me. I get that people like different things. If the atmosphere didn't catch you, that's fine. If some of the suspension of disbelief that comes with a movie like this is too much for you, then whatever. If the thrills aren't engaging, if you didn't get emotionally invested, all that is valid. And hey, Merrill probably should have picked up that axe when he went upstairs to check if the aliens were truly gone. Maybe he left it there so that Graham can protect the children in the case there are still aliens around. Who knows? Maybe it's stupid regardless. I don't see it as a problem. Like of all the things, him not taking the axe is what kills it. Okay, but at least it's a legitimate thing that happens in the movie. You can at least call it stupid if you want, and it's there. It happens. The aliens not being able to get through the wood is not. If you watch the movie till the end, you can see that all the doors and windows are broken down. We heard them breaking in before. The aliens were banging on the basement door. Clearly, they got in. And the alien in the last confrontation is shown to be the same one that was locked in the pantry. They even flash back to make sure you get it. It's not exactly subtle. I don't know how they could have made it any more explicit. The movie stated a possible reason as to why the aliens are low-teching it. The alien is locked in without any weapons or tools. The criticism that they can travel to Earth but not break through a door is strange to me. Neil Armstrong got to the moon, but if you lock him in a room without any tools, it will take him some time to get out from there. even in his peak strength, after he got done lifting all those moon rocks. The first thing about the water. Why would they come here if they are vulnerable to the stuff that covers most of the planet? I think, through the information we're given, that the aliens don't really want to be here themselves. They purposefully have avoided places near water. You can see this alien in the Brazilian video cowering in the bushes before it steps out, something I didn't notice on my first view as a child. At the end they say they left in a hurry and that the aliens weren't here for the planet, they were here to probably harvest humans, taking us on their ships and whatnot. That's the other thing. The aliens aren't here for long. The invasion, from the movie's beginning to when the aliens are chased away, is 3 days. It didn't rain in this area in that time. Maybe they concentrated to places where they predicted it wouldn't rain at that time. How about moisture in the air? Isn't there always some? Sure, but it didn't seem to affect them, at least not here. You saw them running around as much as I did, right? I understand the water problem more than the wood problem, because it does take more of a suspension of disbelief to get there. But to me it works. The film gives me the feeling that the aliens are probably desperate, not wanting to be here, but they need us for whatever. And the water is a neat symbol for purification, so you'll get to have that too. We're given very limited information on the aliens anyways. The info I laid out here is mostly not explicitly stated. We have no real life basis on what aliens coming here would be like. We most likely never will. Aliens can be whatever the movie needs them to be. I don't get when people insist something like aliens should or should not be a certain way for whatever arbitrary reasons. As much as any movie monster, aliens are fictional and will represent anything the writer wants them to and function however the story requires them to. Why does the xenomorph happen to look scary but E.T. looks cute? Coincidence? Well, no. One is a horror film, the other is a family film. You're supposed to sympathize with this one and not the other one.
It's like it was meant to be.
The aliens in Signs are a certain way because the story requires them to be, as is with any movie monster, and they're presented in a consistent way here, so I buy it. And I think with movies like these, it's just one of those things. Either you buy it or you don't, and I feel either way is fair enough. I'd still argue overall the movie's really good, but it is what it is. I can't force anyone to like it. Not yet. Since that part was a bit of a downer, I'm gonna have a lighter segment before we get to the end. I quickly want to talk about an underrated aspect of this film, which is how fun it is. Even The Sixth Sense and Unbreakable had good moments of levity, but Signs is, despite its tension and dread, a lot of fun. I mean, just look at this. Don't tell me Shyamalan doesn't know what he's doing. That's fucking funny. There's the female Scandinavian Olympian scene, the story Meryl tells to Graham, there's everything Bo does.
You're scaring your sister.
I'm already scared.
And don't even get me started on the pharmacy scene. A lot of straight up comedies don't manage to be as funny as that scene. The movie is low-key really funny. I know not all of Shyamalan's attempts at humor always work out, but here it totally does. I think he's a bit underrated in how funny his scripts can be from time to time. Sometimes his movies are unintentionally funny, but sometimes completely intentionally. And Signs is just a blast. Even if you don't appreciate all of the other elements, it's a damn good time.
Is douchebag a curse?
I suppose that would depend on its usage.
How about, John, you're a douchebag for kissing Barbara?
It's a curse.
Then it's not 37, it's 71.
Good night, and keep watching the skies. Skies.
So that's Signs. This was surprisingly the hardest out of the entire 3 to write. I had a lot to say, and it was hard to even condense everything to the length that it is now, if you can imagine. It may not surprise anyone at this point, but I could go on about Signs for hours. It's one of the most important movies in my life, and easily my favorite movie of all time. And I'm glad I got to talk about it, even if it was a lot. It's a fun, thrilling blockbuster film that is very precisely crafted, and has a strong emotional core and characters. The scares work, the comedy works, the drama works, the music, again, shout out to James Newton Howard, one of my favorite soundtracks once again. It definitely works. Despite whatever bad faith criticism it has gotten, I think it's fantastic. I hope maybe this encourages you to take another look, and if you still don't care for it, then that's cool too. We can like different films, I'm not gonna harass you over it or anything. I don't even know your address. But this concludes my trilogy on the Shyamalan collection movies. It's been a huge undertaking, and I thank all the 19 people who watched these for going on this journey with me. If you're looking for more good science-related stuff, Chris Stuckmann and Ryan Hollinger have both made good videos on the subject. I think Chris's video touches on a lot of the things I mentioned here, although I avoided rewatching it while making this one, to try and avoid repeating talking points. Anyways, thanks for watching. It has been fun. If you liked this video and haven't checked out the earlier ones I made on The Sixth Sense and Unbreakable, I'd suggest you check them out too, as well as the M. Night Shyamalan collection video I made before these. So, like and subscribe if this was anything. Tell me why I'm wrong about the water, and it's actually the biggest cinema sin of all time. And get Stuckmannized, or whatever it is I say at the end. Bye!
Are you the kind that sees signs, sees miracles? Or do you believe that people just get lucky? Is it possible there are no coincidences?